let's just start by turning a bit. So just relaxing and just sort of easing into it. So rather than just imposing an exercise, just sort of gently get into it. So something Thich Nhat Hanh said, which is really lovely. He said, I've been breathing so long now that I've begun to really enjoy it, and there's nothing else I'd rather be doing. So for him, becoming aware of his breath is like coming home. So for us, it's just standing in gravity and sinking. Sinking doesn't mean getting closer to the ground, it just means you have this feeling of something streaming through you. So we're just trying to just loosen up and just let gravity stream through us. So the important aspect is to be aware of it. Without that, you're wasting your time. So it's like bringing a soft mind to bear upon whatever it is that you're doing. And then just slowly just let it wind down. Okay. And now just standing. So we want to feel sinking. Sinking is something that is done to you. It's not something that you do. So sinking is the Earth's action upon your body, gravity's action. What you're actually doing is straightening your legs to try and balance the pull down of gravity. So we just want to feel that. So let's just try bending and straightening that like the bounce, but just very slowly. So just feel what you have to do with your legs to just slowly release them so that you can be brought down. Yeah. And then push up against that without breaking it. Yeah. So you're just using your legs, a slow, controlled release, which gives this dropping feeling within the body, and then a squeezing, so coming up by squeezing the legs rather than pushing. So we don't want to do violence. So here, releasing. Something in me is just letting go, but in a very controlled way. If you just completely let go, then of course you'll just drop. So here I'm just, something in me is just letting go. I'm allowing gravity to bring me down, but then I don't want to go down too far, so I feel the legs begin to squeeze up through that sinking. So you don't want your rising to actually go against the sinking. It's like it's pushing through it, like you're walking into a headwind. Yeah? So obviously the wind isn't really affected by your movement. So this is what we want the feeling here. So I just release. And then I just squeeze up through the sinking. I don't push against the sinking. So 1. So what we want to feel with the sinking is it's got a down element, but it's also got an expanding outwards element. So that's what we want to try and feel. And when we push up, it's the opposite. We're going up, but we're also pulling together. So here, just sinking. 2 sides of the body release away from each other. And then as I squeeze up, it comes together. Yeah. So 1. Release. So what we want to feel is the place where we separate, which is basically the sacrum. So the sacrum separates into the 2 legs. And then the place where I come together again, which is the heart. And so down, I just release. So to get that split, I'm releasing across my sacroiliac joints. So I'm just letting the sacrum and the pelvis release away from each other a little bit. So 1. So something I have to find the mind that lets go. It's actually tricky. So this is where we have to really concentrate. So I just relax down and wow. This is just a very basic qigong. Just relaxing, separating, coming back up and away from the body. and then back down again. Okay, now let's just stand in riding horse and just bounce it very slightly, but a very slow, sort of ponderous bounce. Yeah, so what we have to make sure is that we don't concentrate with the wrong sort of mind. So the mind is very soft. So I once saw meditation defined as dreaming whilst you're awake. So it's a bit like a dreaming mind. It's a bit like a mind of reverie. So you're almost daydreaming. You're not focusing on your perceptions and certainly not on your conceptions. You're just, the mind is just quiet and present and sort of spongy, elastic, a bit like the body we want. Yeah, so that sort of dreamy, soft mind, it's the first one we had. It's the one we had as an infant. So the security of the mother, that's what it gives us. It gives us the opportunity, the ability to just relax and soften the mind, knowing that we're in that security of the mother. So this is what we want to feel here. It's like our sinking, and our legs are giving us sufficient security to just let the mind go. Okay, now look, we want to just try this again now, but just letting one side fall away and then the other. So we're just bringing a bit of a turn into it. We don't want the turn to be too regimented, but what I want to feel is as I sink, I also turn. This is very important in Tai Chi. Yeah? And so if I turn this way, I tend to be connecting with this leg, and if I turn this way. So this is the yielding element. So I slip this way a little bit and then this. So the hands are never quite in phase. They seem to be together, but they're all, and you can just choose. You can just choose which one do I let down first, which way do I turn first. So we just try to make sure that at no level are we frozen. So movement is possible at every level. So this is the dreamy mind. The dreamy mind is basically one that's able to change, one that has flows inside it rather than objects. Yeah. It doesn't have thoughts. Thoughts haven't cohered yet. It just has flows of energy. And the same thing here. Yeah. So we've just split the midline into two. So my left side is now yielding to the left, and my right side is now yielding to the right. So here, there's almost a sense that I'm yielding in both directions at the same time, and then I'm beginning to pull them back. Yeah. So on. So you want to feel that this turning action, it's very gentle. It's like you're just letting something slip past you a little bit. So that when, if you were to actually do it together, then you're basically, those two turns are just there, but they're just not quite so visible. Yeah, but oh. And now let's just bring it into this. But this is, so you just see how this is basically just the same thing. It's just I'm doing just different arm shapes, and I'm focusing a bit more on my belly and my down and my back. But it's basically the same action. It's all the time just trying to make sure that it doesn't get stiff. It doesn't become regimented. So if you have this turning element of always slipping from side to side, then it will remain like a game rather than become an exercise that can be written down or filled or whatever. This is always a big problem with practice, is how do I work in such a way that it remains fresh? Not only that it remains fresh, but that it generates its own novelty. It generates freshness. And then just back to this, just bouncing again, but again, just very slow. Like something bouncing on a rubber thread in slow motion. Okay, and now let's just try just beginning to just lean a little bit. So just let this just flow away from you. And then as you sink down, just let this. So now the relaxation in the shoulders. Just feel your shoulder just releasing down into your hand. And then here, this side. So 1, 2, 1, 2. So from here down, you're just bouncing up and down. You've just got a slight tilt to just help the energy slide down one arm. and then down the other arm. And just looking for that release across the shoulder that enables the shoulder to expand away from the neck. Try not to move too much, just try and stay in there. So use your legs to keep yourself in the middle. But they're legs that are quite springy, so as you sink into a leg, it's providing you with energy, like spring energy. So as I sink here into this leg, it's providing something for the next turn. So one. Now the energy is coming up here, and then I can just let that flow. The energy is coming up here, and then I can just let that turn. So the legs are feeding the upper body. So just feel the connection between this hip and this shoulder. So it's like this becomes heavy and then it drops down. So it's like a perpetual motion machine. So 1, 2. Remember, when something drops down in touch, it's because it's heavy. And when something rises in touch, it's because it's light. And if it's light, then it has energy. So here, this is going down because it's heavy into this heavy side. This becomes full of energy. And then I can just let the energy drag the fullness with it. So it's the energy moves first. And then the body wants to follow. Whoa. And just try and catch the relaxation all around here and here that enables this openness in the shoulder and chest, which enables the energy to pass across the shoulder and into the hand. Okay. Now just let the arms hang. And just really let go here and all across here. Yeah. So the arms, if your shoulders are really relaxed, then the arms just feel really heavy. And it almost feels like you're constricting here and you can't quite breathe. Yeah. Okay, now let's try. We're just going to reverse everything that we've done. So we were working on this circuit, which is the splitting on the way down. And so as you do this, you're engrossed in the sinking. But then, we want to have a mind that is willing to go along, but is also always looking for the alternative. So as I'm sinking down here, I begin to feel the actual strength of the legs, which are balancing that, which are coming up. Yeah? So as I'm sinking down and relaxing to gravity, if I just make sure I don't go with that too much, then in the background I can feel the legs actually squeezing up against that into the opposite circuit. So now we just want to try that and feel the split. So the previous one split at the sacrum, And this one splits at the sternum. So this is the sternum, the breastbone. So it splits across here. So first I just go down. I feel the legs squeezing up through that, and then I just go with that. And up, and really out, and then down. So we're just doing the opposite circuit now, coming up the front and down the side. So it's like a fountain, like a jet of water is coming up the legs, joining at the sacrum this time, up the spine, and then splitting across the shoulders and also the sternum. So all the time we're doing this, we have to make sure we don't lose the sinking, because the up is generated because I'm sinking, because I'm allowing gravity to operate upon me. Remember, that's what we mean by sinking. By sinking, we don't really mean getting closer to the ground. We just mean opening up to gravity. So, right. So here it's the legs coming together to the sacrum, up the spine, and then splitting across the shoulder blades and cascading down all around you. So up. That's it. So you just want to feel the release in the chest when you start bringing the hands out. Because here you want this to be a real expansion across here as your hands are coming out. So this is what John called the thymus. So it's just that upper chest that has to open. And just feel the mood that goes with it. So it's almost aggressive. Yeah, it's like the warrior poses of yoga. So you're just opening and exposing your pride, yeah, to the world around you. And now feel the physical presence of the lower back. So your lower back has to be really quite strong to support this mushrooming, this opening across the chest. And it has to be exactly underneath the midpoint of this opening. Okay, so there's a fountain coming up, which I catch. But the more the fountain comes up, the more I'm physically sinking down my spine. It's like my spine becomes a stake, which is being driven down into the ground by virtue of the fact that I'm opening up to this rising energy. And so we're now feeling the spine in a physical way, rather than an energetic way. So if the spine wants to drive down through the legs, I need to wriggle it through. Yeah, so it's like a warrior of old. Yeah, so imagine, in the olden days, you'd meet a stranger on the road and you decide to chat and you'd introduce yourself. Yeah. Hello, I am Stephen, son of Michael, son of Joseph, son of Thomas. Yeah, so you have a whole lineage. You wouldn't just present yourself. There'd actually be a whole package. So something that's streaming through you from your past and out into your future. And that's pure thymus. It's your pride, it's your good, in a good sense. Yeah? You're just here, you occupy this space, and that's just the way it is. And if someone wants to take that space from you, they're going to have to fight you. So just try and feel relaxation as letting go, releasing into a structure that is there. You're not just, relaxation isn't just sort of letting go into flabbiness. It's not sort of sitting on the sofa relaxation. You're relaxing into old structures that we tend to have neglected or forgotten about. So this is what we mean by natural way. It's some hidden truth that we're trying to get to. So it's truth not in the sense of something out there that we need to discover, but something within ourselves. Yeah? So it's an internal, personal truth. It's you. It's your right to be. This is the legs squeezing up from the ground through the body. And then this is like just a relaxation phase that enables you to gather your energy for the next up. And again, just get this wriggly feeling. So you're turning all the time. Yeah, so the two legs have a real degree of independence. So they're playing with each other. There's a sense that they don't really want to cooperate too much. Okay, now just bring it in now. And then just back to here. Down. Okay, now let's bring the feet up. So let's just work a little bit with the feet quite close together. So again, just sinking and then squeezing up against that. It's almost like the sinking is going on all around you, because it's not to do with you really. but your up is very much inside you. So as you come down, you're just releasing. You're becoming part of the room, if you like. And then when you squeeze up against that, you're bringing something up through your very center, your core, and rising, even though the sinking is still happening. So it's quite difficult to come up without breaking the sinking. If anything, the sinking should feel stronger as you're coming up, because it's going against your body, because the sinking is from outside. So as I squeeze up against that, I can really feel it dragging down on me. It's like it's reluctant to let me come up. So here I'm just letting gravity take me. And then here I have to squeeze up through that. It's like these two big hands are trying to hold me down. Yeah, so this is the earth pulling you down. And this is you squeezing yourself up against that. So here, this is just the release. So here you just connect with the largeness of the room. And then as you come up, everything comes into you. And you come up like a needle pushing through that stream. Yeah, so here you're going with the stream. And then here you're swimming against it. So you become like a salmon. And so, especially in Celtic traditions, a salmon, they call it salmon of wisdom. Yeah? So in order to be able to swim against the stream the way it does, against the flow, it needs to be very wise, because otherwise it will just get too exhausted. And so it finds lines of flux upon which it can move. This is the feeling here. So it's like your spine is slotted in, and then you just can wriggle yourself up. It's almost like you have to turn like this, just to squeeze yourself through this narrow passage. It's a bit like being born, coming out of the womb. So they say in spiritual traditions, they say, in order to change, for transformation to take place, you have to squeeze through a very narrow tunnel. And it's always the same. Heidegger said the same. To actually get into being, you have to pass through a real constriction. So it's like something is squeezing me here, but I can wriggle myself through. And then when I sink, everything just expands out again. So squeezing up and relaxing. And with the legs, just try and make sure that your knees go out as you go down. And so again, it's still riding horse, you're just on a really narrow horse. So up and down. So just imagine you've got like these rubber strips that are actually holding you down to the ground. And then here you have to stretch those strips. So the higher you get, the more you feel gravity. And then here you just let go and let those rubber strips take you down again. This is the feeling of sinking. So it's very physical. It's a bit like, it's like a fight that's going on. So just going down, so you can go down a long way, and then, how do I get up? And it's great if you've got someone with you that can just have their hands on your shoulders, or even just holding your arms and just pulling the arms down gently, so that you really have to work. Find some way of actually working, not against it, but with it. So the struggle, the stresses that we encounter should make us stronger. So the stronger, the stronger gravity is, the stronger your body becomes. Down, something in you releases. And then I come up. So just feel the release. It can't be too releasing. Otherwise, you never get back up again because it's like you lose your strength. So you release, but you stay with your strength. So I'm releasing, but I've got a lot of weight to bear. So to get back up again, I can't just go with the down. So this is the sense in which even as you're going down, the up is still there. And of course, as you're coming up, the down is obviously there because you just feel it so strong. Okay, now let's just continue and just get a bit of arm movement. It doesn't really matter what you do. What matters is the quality of the mind that you do it with. So if you can just relax and work gently and softly, then something will happen. Whoa. That's great. Imagine those, I've been watching a lot of athletics on YouTube, because I just love watching people's spirit in action. And the way those guys, those sprinters just come out of their blocks, with this amazing reaction time. So there's that sense here, there's a sense that you're just in ultra slow motion, but as you come up, you're just springing out of these blocks. So just feel that animal rise within you that just enables you to start the race, start the action. So wow, that's spirit, that's what precedes everything, thought, action. So that's the little spark that actually sets everything going. Ooh. Imagine that the more pressure on your shoulders, the stronger that spark has to be, obviously, to actually get the body moving. So the more reluctance, the more resistance, the stronger the spirit needs to be. So this is the whole ethos behind weight training, progressive resistance training. So you gradually increase the amount of weight on that bar, and the spirit gets stronger. And as a consequence, so does the body. Oh, wow. Okay, so now let's just try. So again, just a very easy action. Just feel the resistance, feel the air resisting the movement. So imagine you're in water. That's it. So we'd like to be able to set up any simple repetitive action like this. And just by doing it for a few minutes, force it to come into here. So this is my belly tightening a little bit. This is my back. And so as your arms begin to tire, then the action tends to come more and more into your middle. Not just because the muscles there don't tire so readily, but because when you're beginning to tire, then you're having to find hidden reserves. And you're also having to activate the spirit, because now what you're fighting is not just the movement, but your own tiredness. So that will tend to bring you into the dantian. So when you need spirit, then you will find yourself coming to the dantian naturally. As if you suddenly needed to fight or run for your life. Whoa. So it's eventually it's your whole body breathing, but from the dantian, from the belly, the back. So this is our motor. They're just turning again. So here just feel the two forces, the centrifugal force, so the relaxation, if you like, which is expanding outwards, and the centripetal, which is like the spirit cohering in the very middle, so this tension drawing in. So that's the equivalent of the squeezing up against gravity. So the turning is very similar to gravity. It's just more available in a way. So it's something that we do. Yeah, so this is very much your action, whereas gravity is very much not your action. It's from outside. This is from the very depths of you. Okay. And now just back to here. So one of the problems with the mind is that it's a real trickster, it's a real deceiver. So it's extreme. The thing that the mind does best of all is lie. And so it's especially difficult with sort of physical work, because you say to someone, put your mind in the dantian, and it's quite a difficult thing to do. So what they tend to do is bring an image of the dantian into the mind, whereas really what they need to do is just feel this as the center of their body and of their world. So now let's just try. So let's just rub the hands just to get them a little bit warmer. So like, they don't have to be hot. Relax the shoulders down into the arms. So everything that we do is an exercise. And now just place the hands on the dantian. And now just feel it. So now, so when you actually feel it for what it is, then it's very different than what we normally think of as putting our mind there. So this is what we would like. So when we put our mind in the dantian, we want this feeling that we're very much conscious of this area as an energetic center and as a physical presence. Okay, so when you put your hands there, especially when they're a little bit warm, it gives the area permission to relax. So all the surrounding muscles will tend to relax, but the dantian itself will cohere into an actual physical entity. So we will very much want to get out of mental images and into physical realities. So when you're in the dantian properly, then your world is one of like nested spheres. Yeah? So it's like an onion, you become like an onion. This is the core of your onion here, the dantian. And you have all these layers, these concentric layers all the way around you. So you're like a ball at the center of a whole nest of balls, a nested string. And so that's so it's like the clash between the outside and the inside. It's like a clash of coordinate systems. So outside, everything's regular, especially the way we've made it with straight lines and grey surfaces. Yeah? So everything's crisscrossed like this. So we live in a grid, yeah? But our own personal reality is very much spherical, yeah? When we actually get into the dantian. So we just want to feel that. So the legs are like these two hands, arms. So think of the hip bones here on top of the legs being like two hands. And those two hands are grasping very gently the sacrum. So they're holding the sacrum, but the sacrum can really move. Yeah, so because of all these joints, it's actually very free to move. So you have the feet one end of the leg, but you have these two hands at the other end. So just imagine, when you're walking along, your feet are doing this, but what's the other end of the leg doing? The other end of the leg is massaging this area, getting these gyrations going on inside, these twists. So you're turning from side to side as you walk, and you're tipping like this, and there's a whole load going on. And if you can just become aware of that, then this area just loosens up and becomes very much like a slippery ball inside that you've never quite got control of. It has a life of its own. It's almost like it doesn't really belong to you. You're just harboring it. You're keeping it safe. So now let's just try it. And this is an exercise my teacher loved. You could do this all day. So you're just feeling the dantian. Just imagine you're just rolling it a little bit. It's just rolling around itself. It's like an orb. It's like one of those, these the gypsy fortune tellers have one of those crystal balls. Yeah. So when you look into it, you can see like a future. You can see intimations of what's to come. Wow. Right. And now just feel the legs really holding this, but from the sides. Yeah. So it's like they're holding like this, rather than like this. They're not underneath you. They're very much at the side. And then that will give this a very springy, and it'll have lots of movement available to it. Okay, now let's just bring the legs up so they don't hurt so much. But again, just sinking knees out. So the knees tend to go out when we have a wide step, but when we have a narrow step, we want to make sure that they're still releasing away from the center line. Okay, now let's just rub the hands again. Yes, just feel yourself, even though the feet are close together, and it's easy to actually get stuck in the middle. Just feel as though you're wanting to do this. You're never wanting to be stuck in the middle. It's like the middle is like an illusion. It's an impossible place. You're always oscillating from side to side. So the physical reality that you present is actually always an illusion. Because it's like an average. And now let's just place the hands on the heart. So the upper heart. So again, just feel it. So having the hands there enables you to feel it in its physicality, rather than just prefer your own mental image of it. This is everything I do, everything I teach, just comes from working with other people. It comes from having my hands on them and them having their hands on me. You know, so it just becomes, when you're working with someone intimately and physically, then it's obvious that you just wake up as soon as their hand touches you. You wake up not just to them, but to your own body in a way that you never do when you're on your own. It doesn't matter how physical we are, we tend to drift into mental images of that. Even if you're doing like a sport, you can see sportsmen sometimes just sort of get into like automatic. They're thinking about something else. This is the beauty of the African runners. Yeah. They just don't really do that. They're so content with just being alive and being present. They don't expect the world to offer them constant entertainment, and so they're quite happy just to run a marathon and just remain concentrated. You can see when they're running, they're just they're creating time. They're creating unbroken time. Okay, now let's just rub the hands again. Now let's just bring the hands up here. So you don't have to touch it. You just have your hands quite close, and again, just feel that area. So this is a difficult one because it only really opens up when you get some handle on the noisy mind. Okay, and now just feel the face. Yeah? So just feel your face. So the head is like an image of the whole body. Yeah, so these two actions that we had for the body, they also go on inside the head. So let's just feel it. So just use your middle finger and just trace the line down the middle of the head, and then just trace the line of your jaw and up to the bottom of the ear. And then just it back into the middle and then down. So you're just creating like a smile. You're just doing this circuit that we were doing with the whole body, but just inside the head. And just let the head relax and expand. So it splits down the middle and the two sides feel as though they're falling away from each other. So down. Just feel the jaw. Feel the line of the jaw. You want to imagine you've got a really wide jaw. And feel where it slots into the side of the skull. Yeah, you can do this sitting down, of course. Probably a lot easier. So it's probably the easiest way to feel energy, really, is just work on your head. It's so sensitive. There's so many points. And so it's like all the features of your face, they've got like energetic analogues. You know? So the eyebrows, the eyes, the jaw. And now let's go the other way, but this time just use the index finger. So it's a bit easier. So it's like you're going up, it's like you've got really big eyebrows, and then down the line of the jaw to the point of the chin, and then back up. So it's like you're inscribing a heart on your own face. Just feel how different this feels than the other way. So this is like when you raise your eyebrows. Yeah? So when you look at someone to greet them, the eyebrows raise and you send a flash of benign spirit to them. And the other way is more like just a contented smile, which is the foundation for this. Wow. And now just bring the hands here. So slightly in front of your ears. And now just using the index finger, just trace the head. So you're going up over the top of the head and down. Trying to keep the wrists relatively still. So it's just an action in the hand. And just relax into it. And then the hands back to here. Okay, now let's just start getting into, I want to start getting into that, remember that Qigong that John used to do on Saturdays when we're in Highgate. of just teasing the energy out. So just using this suction quality of the hand to just extend these threads of energy out of yourself. And then just hold it a sec. And then just slowly bring it back in. Yeah, so you can be working with the temples or with the ears. It just doesn't really matter. It just feels as though you're trying to pull like a thread of energy out of these places. You're trying to untangle something so that you've got these threads that emanate from you that can sensitively perceive the world energetically. So here, it's a bit like the spines of a porcupine, or like the feelers of a sea anemone, because they really flow and twist, and then just bring it back in, and then again to one. And so we did this for about 2 years, back in sort of 1994, I think we started. And you know, John being John, it developed and became quite rococo, as Mac used to call it. Whoa. Yeah, so it's just the same way that when John used to do energy work on people, like healing work, this is what he would do. He'd just find the area where he felt a problem, and he would just gently tease the energy out, so untangling. So whoa. And just let it go. And so you can work on any points in that way. Yeah, so we'll get into it. Let's just try this one to start. And then we'll finish. So just feel the heart, feel maybe the thymus, so this area here. So the heart is sort of between the nipples, so it's where the chest naturally depresses in. And then the thymus is where the chest naturally protrudes out. So it's like your sternum, your masculine pride. So just feel this point here. And now let's just having the hands together like this. So you think of the two lagom points, the middles of the palms, yeah? And just have them directly opposite each other. And now just gently tease. So we normally do a count of 3, so it's like a waltz. Yeah? So 1, 2, and tease. 1, 2, pull. 1, 2, pull. 1, 2, pull. 1, 2, pull. And then slowly back in. And then again. 1, 2, pull. 1, 2, pull. 1, 2, pull. 1, 2, pull. And then one more. In. And 1, 2, pull. 1, 2, pull. 1, 2, pull. 1, 2, pull. And then back in. And then just hands to here. So mind in the Danshan. So really get down there with your mind if you can. Okay, great.